Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This is Force with some more Friday Night Magic. Today, I'm up to Mischief. Something sneaky is going on, and it's a bunch of fairies. I'm not being derogatory, there's literally a bunch of fairies. That's what my deck is all about. I'm actually not terribly impressed with this starter hand. We're gonna draw a new one. This is worse. Let's draw a new hand. All right, we're keeping this one. I should have gone with the first hand now. So I had a creature in the first hand. It was a 1-drop. The problem with that particular 1-drop was that if there's no other creature in play to bounce back to your hand, you have to sacrifice it. So I couldn't play turn 1, and then I had to turn 2 one of these, the Briarberry Cohorts, but you know, again, it just wasn't an ideal situation. We are playing Up to Mischief. Up to Mischief is a fairy deck. It is a deck filled with fairies, and they help each other out, they pump each other up. It's interesting. It's like a semi-aggro, but flying focus. So think of like the blue aggro deck, but instead of as aggressive and as strong, we've got creatures with flying. That's basically how you can look at the deck. Holy hell. As soon as he plays a creature, he's got 2 no-dachis to throw on it. Well, they're each equipped 3, so he's not gonna be able to do that right away, but you know what I'm saying. All right, we're gonna play the Scion of Una, and we want to do this prior to combat because this guy will get pumped up quite a bit, actually. He's gonna become a 3/3. So yes, they are fairies, they are flying creatures, relatively weak, but we've got fairies to pump up other fairies. So for example, this guy, he's a 1/1 flying. He gets +1/+1 as long as you control another blue creature. So playing this blue creature made him a 2/2. And then this creature itself, the Scion of Una, it is flash. You can play it as an instant. Oh, so I could have played it during my attack phase, actually. I didn't have to play it in the first main phase. It pumps up your other fairy creatures, gives them +1/+1, plus gives them Shroud so they cannot be targeted. So he can target and remove this, but he can't target my other fairies until he removes the Scion of Una. He's gonna play a 2/2 Bushido 1. That is terrible because now he can just, actually no, we're gonna, oh my god, because we've got 2 of the Sower of Temptations. And I think that's what I want to use. I think I totally want to take that. So we're going to play Sower of Temptation. This allows me to take a creature from my opponent. I could also unsummon his creature, bouncing it back to his hand. But I don't want to do that. I want to play the Sower of Temptation so they cannot block this. We're going to play the Sower of Temptation. Comes into play, we steal a creature. We're going to be stealing his 2/2 Flying Bushido 1. And we get, the 2/2 becomes a 3/3 because of our Scion of Una. We now hit him for 4 in the air, bringing him down to 13. So we took his creature. Taking his creature is a really big deal because it's a 2/2 with Bushido 1. So it would have meant that he would have been able to kill our 3/3 because let me show you, if you forget Bushido, it gets a temporary buff depending on his Bushido thing. So it would have become a 3/3. He could have killed my 3/3 flyer with his 3/3. And, well, it would have been a 3/3 from the Bushido. So this, playing the Sower and taking that was a really, really big deal. Now we also, okay, he left the game. I was gonna say, I'm pretty sure we're gonna win this here. He played another creature. It was a non-flying creature, and so he can't block any of this damage. We've got 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 damage coming his way this turn. I wanna see if there's anything else in particular that I'd like to play right now. I mean, I could take his creature again. Which I probably will. We're playing against an AI now, unfortunately, because the real player left. We're gonna attack with this. It's gonna bring him down pretty low. And then I'm gonna steal his creature again with the Sower. I shouldn't, because what if he's got like a Wrath of God or something? I can't even remember what that deck has. I'm not gonna do it. I was about to play a second Sower of Temptation. I know this is very anticlimactic because the real player left, but the real player left because he realized that he had lost. So, you know, I'm not feeling too bad. Not feeling too bad. This is still a solid victory. He's gonna attack, and just to add insult to injury, we're gonna unsummon his creature. So what that's going to do is it's going to stop the damage from going through. Creature's bouncing back to his hand. He can, of course, he could of course replay it if he wanted to, but not going to be doing that. And then we just go ahead and move into combat phase and attack for victory in game number 1. It's always unfortunate when the player leaves. It was still a win. They left because we won. So there you go. And on to game number 2. This one against Zachary Mantooth. I really like that last name. I'm assuming that's not his real last name. Although I guess it's not impossible. Someone, I don't know him personally, but someone that I've been following on the internet for a while, or someone who's been part of the group that I've been following on the internet for a while, his last name is Shoemaker. And I think that's sort of kind of, if you think about the name, is Brad Shoemaker of the Giant Bomb, for those of you who aren't aware. And that's also got, so Mantooth, Shoemaker, I don't know. Anyways, it's such a weird thing to talk about. I don't even, anyway, all right, here we go, game number 2. Yeah, this fairy deck, man, so we just won a game. It performs okay. I'm not really super keen on it though. Like, I don't think, especially stacked up against the other aggro decks, I don't think it's that great. Now remember, the one advantage, it's not as aggressive, but it has the advantage of flying. And in duels, that can actually be a pretty big deal. Again, you can only block flying creatures with other creatures that have flying, which there just aren't a ton of. A lot of the decks in duels just don't have a large amount of flying creatures. Or you can block them with creatures that have reach, which things like the Elvish Archers, or there's a lot of different types of spiders that have reach. And conceptually, it's something, you know, you think of a spider, it's got a web, you think of an archer, it's ranged. The idea is that they can reach up in the air and they can block these creatures coming at you. I always loved the idea of magic and the notion of the spells and the trickery and stuff, everything that was taking place. I don't know, I just always really enjoyed it. We are going to go ahead and attack before we do anything else. I do believe we're going to be playing the Briarberry cohort in the second main phase. I could also save to try to go for the counter spell, but we wouldn't be able to counter much because it's countered based on the fairies that you have in play. So we could counter a 2-drop. If he had a 2-drop, he probably would have played it last turn. So second main phase, we're going to play the Briarberry cohort, which will be a 2/2 because it gets pumped up +1/+1 if we have other blue creatures in play. Don't have our fairy to pump up our other fairies at the moment. We do have the Una, Queen of the Fae, which is a very, very cool card. I'll show you exactly what that does in the moment. We also have this guy. I'm gonna read that off to you in a second. Okay, 3-drop, 3/1 flying flash. We can play it as an instant. When it enters the battlefield, look at target player's hand. You may choose a non-land card from it. If you do, that player puts the chosen card, reveals the chosen card, puts it on the bottom of his or her library, then draws a card. So we can basically force them to take a card in their hand and put it on the bottom of the library. I think I'm gonna do this next turn, right after, during their first main phase, before he plays anything, before Zachary Mantooth plays anything. Okay, so we're gonna attack for 3 here. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. So we're gonna take whatever he would be playing, and we're gonna force him to dump it and draw a card instead. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah, we're gonna pass the turn, all right, and then I'm gonna pause during his first main phase, and we're gonna play this. So we are gonna be able to look at his hand and force him to take a card, put him on the bottom of his library, and then draw a card in its place. So we can force him to get rid of anything here. So he would have played this. He gets wolves and he can have the wolves do damage to my creatures. Or he's gonna get this guy, which can block, it's got reach, it can block our creatures with flying. He's got the 3/2 trample, don't really care about this. We're gonna force him to get rid of this right now. So he doesn't have a play this turn. Well, no, excuse me. He can play the 3/2 champion for 2. He can play that creature, but unless he drew, that thing would have been scary. So the card that I forced him to put on the bottom of his library, it lets him make wolves, and then he can force those wolves, force other creatures to, he can do their damage to other creatures. So he could basically have picked off my fairies, which would not have been good for me. Because they've got very little toughness, they've got very little health, and those 2/2 wolves would have been able to take them out. So he's gonna play a Prey Upon, probably targeting this, or maybe targeting this so that his creature doesn't die. Yeah, he's gonna target my 1/1, so they deal damage to each other. 3/2 does the damage to the 1/1, his 3/2 lives, my 1/1 dies. We're still gonna be hitting him for 5 though, but he's offsetting some of our damage with the Staff of the Wild Magus here, Magus. Okay, this is the card that pumps up our other fairies. I think we will in fact play that. Yeah, and then I can play this to stop his creature with reach from blocking our flying creatures. So we're going to play this pre-combat, first main phase. It will pump up our other fairies. It's going to be a 4-2 and a 3-3 right now. And then we're going to hit for 7. So next turn, he is going to be able to play his Spider with reach. However, we can tap it with our Hands of Binding, which is very, very good. And is exactly what we will do. So he's going to take the 7. This brings him down to 12. And next turn, we will hit him for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. His creature will be tapped and not untapped during its next untap phase. So he's going to gain a life. This brings him up to 13. Okay. We hit him for 8. He'll be down to 5. His creature with reach will be tapped, and it won't untap the next main phase, so there'll be 2 phases of attack. Unless he kills off our flying creatures, we should be able to win right here. He's going to gain another life that brings him up to 14, excuse me. I keep forgetting to include it. This thing's really annoying. You'll probably never see this in a real competitive deck in Magic, at least not in Standard. I never saw it when it was around. Anyone actually play it when it was in rotation and whatnot, but boy oh boy, it's kind of annoying here in Duels. Okay, we can actually just straight up sleep. Tap all creatures, they don't untap during their next untap. Or we could just do his, we could do his specific creature, and then we can give it Cypher too. And I can still counterspell if we do this, so I'm gonna do that. We're gonna do the Hands of Binding, and we're gonna be tapping his creature with reach. So normally a creature with reach could block our flying creatures. And then we choose a creature to put the Hands of Binding to, and we're gonna choose our, just choose our 4-2. So the site now did I tap my own creature? No. The card has Cypher. What that means is we did that and we tapped his, we picked a creature. Now, when we attack the creature who is enchanted with the Cypher of the card, if it deals combat damage to a player, it allows me to play that card for free again. So we did damage. Now the Cypher effect, if it works how I recall it working, should trigger again, allowing me to choose another target for the spell. So the opponent here is watching the damage effect goes through, and it's taking a long time. Maybe he quit the game, I don't know. The Cypher triggers, this is so bad. Would you like to play it without paying its mana cost? Yes, and then we will tap his 3-2 creature here, and it doesn't untap during the next. So now he can't even attack us with it. Oh, that's so evil. The Cypher ability is what makes that card very strong. And now we've got a counter spell. We can counter anything that costs 4 or less. You can counter a spell that costs converted to mana spell 4 or less, or X or less. X is the number of fairies you control, and we will have 4 fairies in play, I believe. Yes, we will. So if he tries to play anything 4 or less, I can counter it. Sure, why not? We play this. It lands in play. We choose a spell. If it has converted mana cost 4 or less, which it does, it is countered. That's just the nail in the coffin right there. That is just straight up the nail in the coffin. So next turn, even if we didn't have fatal damage this turn, unless he's pulling out a fog or something, even if we didn't have fatal damage this turn, I could play this pre-combat. Yeah, whatever. I will. Might as well. Because that's, I think these, yeah, the fairies are gonna shroud each other now. Okay. Even if we did not have fatal damage this turn, this Cypher effect would allow me to re-tap the 4/4 reach again, meaning that next turn I could attack him and he's still gonna block. So there you go, flying creatures coming through victorious, and that is game number 2. I'm gonna wait another half an hour for this guy to watch the damage effects, but I'll cut it here. And our final game for today will be against the Cursor. It's almost like curse with a C, but it's with a K, K-E-R. He is Curdling? No, Curdling is also with the C. What is, I don't know, I was just buying time because he had to start the game. All right, let's see, last game. No early drops. I don't really like this. I'm gonna draw a new hand. This is so bad. We're gonna keep this hand in case I draw some early things. I love this Scion of Una. I don't like... It's just a worse version of Counterspell. I don't get it. I mean, you know, if there's a creature you want to return to your hand because it's got a landing in play effect, then it's, I guess that's cool, but it's just a worse version of a counterspell in IMHO. All right, he's gonna open up with a 2/2 lifelink. This is gonna be a long game. He's got a 2/2 lifelink. We've got no... we've got no creatures that we'll be playing even next turn. This is gonna be a long game. He's gonna start game, or maybe short because we're just gonna lose. What is he doing? Why is your turn continuing when there's nothing you're gonna play because you're tapped out? Okay, we can unsummon that. I think we might just to slow him up a bit. So next turn we'll be able to play the Scion of Una. Turn after that we can play the Glen Endra Archmage, which is really cool because it has Persist. I actually really like that card. It's not like an ideal unsummon target, but okay, now I do unsummon it. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. He just pumped it up, gave it flying. Plus, when it dies, it would come back. But now, because we're unsummoning it and it's not dying, that triggered effect doesn't work, and Griffin Guide falls into the graveyard. That actually worked out quite well for us, because that could have been really, really bad. Now we're gonna play the Scion of Una. It's just a 1/1. This is a very slow start for us. Very slow start. Incredibly slow. So this is an awesome card. It's a 2/2 flying. You can sacrifice it by tapping 1, sacrificing counter target non-creature spell. It also has Persist, which means when it dies, it comes back. Whenever enchantment enters the battlefield under control, put 2/2 white cat token. If that enchantment is an aura, you may attach it to the token. That is crazy. That's really crazy. He's gonna play an enchantment next turn. He's gonna get 2/2 in play. I need to start getting creatures in play though, I think. So we're gonna play the Glen Elendra Archmage. We'll be able to hit him. We can counterspell after that. And then we can counter, and when it comes back to the Persist, we can counterspell the Ruse, which will drop off the Persist token, which will be very good. Alright, so we'll just hit him for 1 right now. The problem is, though, his deck's filled with enchantments. So what's going to happen is he's going to play an enchantment, and he's going to get a 2/2 white creature token in play. And if the enchantment is an aura, it will automatically enchant, or no, you may enchant it to that creature. So, I expect him, if he has an enchantment, to just play it right now. There's no reason not to, because you basically get 2 for 1. So he's going to play a creature first. He might have both, to be honest with you. He may very well have both. Alright, we've got Una. It's a 5/5 flying. I can choose a color, tap X, white or black. Okay, there's this enchantment. Target opponent exiles top X cards of the library. For each card chosen of that color, put a 1/1 blue fairy token with flying into play. It's really good. It is really, really good. But the problem is we're kind of screwed. What is the enchantment that even played? Artifact enchantment spells your opponent controls cost 2 more to cast. He can sacrifice it to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Okay, that's fine. I don't have any artifact or enchantments that I want to play. So I can save for double counter spells. Because I can counterspell by sacrificing, and then I can counterspell and return the persisted creature with the Ruse. So it's really good. We can play the Pestermite to tap one of his creatures. But it's got flash, so we don't need to do that right now. So here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna move into combat phase, and we're gonna attack him for 4. When he tries to play something that's not a creature, I will sacrifice Glen Elendra Archmage to counter it. And if he tries to play, oh gosh, I wish this wasn't a sorcery. If he tries to play a, yeah, we're not gonna play the Pestermite. What is he saying? Blue deck, please. Okay. All right, so please try to play a non-creature first. Yes. Okay, so he's trying to play a non-creature. So we're going to sacrifice this to counter that. Now, it has persist, so it comes back with a negative 1/1 counter on it. But it's back. And now, we could counterspell something with Familiar's Ruse, return this, and it'll drop off the counter. And then we could replay it next turn. And then we'd get that counterspell back again. So this is a great example of why return a creature to your hand can work out well for you. So if he tries to play something else, again, we will counter it with Familiar's Ruse. Get this creature back, and then we can replay it next turn. It'd be amazing. Let's see, is he gonna start attacking me? He needs to start attacking me. You've got a bunch of ground creatures. There's no reason not to. Pre his combat phase, I could have forced to tap one of his creatures, but I'm saving my mana to do the counterspell. So I could have played the Pestermite pre-combat. I don't think if I play it now and try to tap his creature, I don't think that stops it from attacking anymore. I believe it used to, but I don't think it does anymore. All right, so I'm just gonna take the 5. And then actually, I think I'm gonna play the Pestermite. Yeah, maybe. Okay, since he's doing nothing, I am gonna play the Pestermite now. And we will. Let me actually tap one of his lands in case he tries to do something for 2 mana next turn. So I didn't do it before. I could have done it. Obviously, I could have played the Pestermite pre-combat to stop one of his creatures from attacking. But I didn't want to, just in case there was something that I would want to counterspell. That's basically why that ended up happening the way that it did. Obviously, I could have counterspelled again with Glen Elendra, but I wanted to counterspell with Familiar's Ruse so I could bounce back Glen Elendra. All right, we're going to move into combat phase and swing with everything. So that's going to be 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I will be playing the Briarberry Cohort so that we could potentially win next turn if he doesn't kill off any of our stuff. Which we've got some ways to stop him from killing it off. We've got 2 ways. We've got this as well as this. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm going to need both of them. Actually, I can't sacrifice this because I need this to kill him next turn. All right, he's going to try to Pacifism. Oh, he has no more cards in hand. Beautiful. I can counterspell this with Familiar's Ruse. Although I won't have 3, 6, 7, 8. I won't be able to kill him next turn, though. Unfortunately. But I can counterspell it with Familiar's Ruse. That's his last card. He chose not to cast it. I know what it is, though, so whatever. It's a pacifism. Okay. What do you... Alright, I'm gonna block this. I know he's got a pacifism. I know what's in his hand. He just tried to play it, but then canceled it. So I'm gonna block his 2/2 with my 3/3. His dies. He still gains a 2 life. Actually, I can't even kill him next turn because he gains life. He's at 11. He's gonna try to pacifism. You gonna do it or you're not gonna do it? He's realizing that he can't target, because of Shroud, he can't target the big creatures that he wants to target. Because remember, my fairies, as long as this guy's in play, my fairies have Shroud. So he can target my Scion. Decides not to do that, though. Alright, so let's see. I can do that. I know he's got a pacifism. I'm at 10. I don't even know, man. Alright, so what I'm going to do is we are going to attack with everything. So move into combat phase. Okay, so we attack with everything. That's 3, 6, 7, 8, 9. That brings him down to 2. And I could play the Fairy Imposter. But I want to be able to save for a counterspell, which is 2. So if I play this and I bounce something back and replay it, I guess I could do this one. So I could play this, bounce that. Yeah, then I can use it as a blocker. That's because I'm at 10. I'm fairly low. So this is actually exactly what I'm going to do. We're going to play the Fairy Imposter. We're going to bounce back this guy to our hand. And then we will replay it for 2. So now we've got a 3/3 blocker. So we can block his 2/2, or we can even just block his 3/3, whatever. Perfect. So now we've got blockers because we're low. We still have our counterspell here. with our Familiar's Ruse. We know he's got a Pacifism. He just drew another card, whatever that is. That would have been a big problem. That's exile all creatures. So he would have exiled all my creatures. We're gonna choose to bounce this creature back. We are gonna counterspell that and secure the victory. He can't play Pacifism anymore because Pacifism costs 2, not that it didn't matter. He is going to attack me with a 3/3 and a 2/2. We win. He's got a Pacifism, he can't play it, so none of this really matters. But I'm just gonna block that with that. And I could block and kill the 3/3, but we're just gonna take it. Again, none of this really matters. We know what he has, we know he can't play what he has, and we know we have fatal damage for next turn. So passes it on over, and we say, blue deck, please. We're gonna play this. In case something crazy happened and the Pacifism isn't a Pacifism and he tries to do something to win the game or something, at least we can counterspell it. And then we're gonna swing for sweet, sweet victory. And that's going to do it for this week's episode of Friday Night Magic. Thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Lots of fun. Stay tuned next week for another episode. Hope you all have a fantastic day, fantastic weekend, fantastic week. See you guys later. Keep watching and keep owning.